Hey everyone! So I wanted to do a really quick video on a few do's and don'ts and then some clarifications on issues with candle burning. So I get this question pretty regularly. The one that I probably get the most is people will get um, they'll get very upset and very nervous and very concerned if they have and I'll just show you an example here. This one is about used up, but if they have a candle like this, which is called a novena, sometimes they call them a 7-day glass candle. Um, if they have one break or turn black. So what's going to happen is that you're always going to have a little bit of dark film on the insides of these glasses because it's soot from the candle burning, okay? And typically when you have a really dark glass happen, the wick is probably too big for the candle, and it's also probably made out of really cheap paraffin wax. So paraffin wax is going to cause a lot of soot buildup to happen, and that's why it's going to turn black. Can also turn black a lot of times in really cheaply made candles. Um, the wick will be off center and it'll be really close to the side. So it'll make it turn really black. And these are not these are not baking grade glass, okay? And what I mean by that is, like the Pyrex dishes that you use in your oven to like bake cakes in or bake bread in, those are made to withstand the temperature of fire, okay? This glass is not, because it would cost a lot of money to make these all out of glass like that. So if the flame gets too close to the side, or you have too much herbs build up in there, it's going to crack the glass because it's too hot for the glass to take, okay? So that's just sheer science. It has nothing to do with your spell not working. It has nothing to do with you being hexed. It has nothing to do with there being a demon or negative energy in your house or attacking your work. It has nothing to do with any of those things. Anything that burns is going to create a soot. It's going to produce a byproduct, okay? That's just science. So your glass turning black is from the soot collecting in it, all right? So it's nothing to be scared of. If you want to, you can wipe it out if it bothers you. But it happens. What I would recommend you do is buy a candle that's a little bit higher quality. If you do that, you will probably see a difference in that soot being cut back on. Okay, so there's a couple of other things I want to go over too. So I sell loaded and dressed candles on my site, and in each description. So a loaded candle is when you have the bottom carved out and it's filled with different types of herbs and curios, maybe some lodestones or pyrite or some shells, different things like that, okay, depending on its purpose. A loaded candle is when the outside has been totally covered in herbs, oils, wax, other mixtures, etc. So when you're burning these, and like I said, I have this instruction in every listing on my site, you need to burn them. You can burn them on plates like I do, but then again, let me remind you that the plates are not like baking dishes, okay? They cannot withstand the heat of fire. So if you don't wash it carefully, or if you don't do something to disperse the heat, which is what I recommend in every listing, your plate is going to crack. And this is another thing people get very upset about, when really all it is that they didn't follow the instructions or they weren't watching it carefully. So if you follow the instructions with how to use these types of candles, it won't happen. So you need to put a fine layer of either sand or small pebbles around your candle to disperse as the herbs melt and move down. They're going to ignite because herbs are flammable. So anytime you are burning a candle that has herbs on the top, on the outside, loaded into the bottom, those are going to ignite. Essentially what you're doing is creating a larger wick. It burns the wax up faster as fuel, because that's what a candle is. This is fuel for the wick. That's what makes it burn. It soaks it up and burns it. And it's going to burn that up faster. So a working candle is going to burn down very quickly. The additives that have been put on it, the herbs and such, are going to ignite, and you need either sand or gravel to disperse that heat. Okay, so it will soak some of that heat up, and it will stop it from being centered in one place on the plate. So don't use salt. Salt is also flammable. I see people use salt. Salt catches fire. So that's why I'm very specific in my listings, which is why you need to read what you purchase and follow the instructions. Because people don't do it properly and they get upset when if they just would have read it to begin with, they wouldn't have had the issue. And really, that goes for anything in life, right? You should be reading the directions on everything. You should be reading things that you sign. You should be reading things you agree to. You should be reading things you purchase. That's normal, like being a mature person, okay? So that's how you burn a loaded candle. Another thing is that when I burn mine, I do put a petition underneath there that's made out of paper. But I use the items, the gravel, to disperse around it. Or if I don't do that, which you'll rarely see me do that because when I do work for people, I'm on top of it all the time, so I don't have to do that because I'm watching it the whole time. So when I do work for my clients, I don't use that. It's very rare that I set something and let it go, but most people aren't going to work that way. You shouldn't just be lighting a candle and walking out of the room because that's not really any different than just lighting one of those jar candles that you bought at the mall. It's not any different then. So, and it's fine to put the petition under there. What you don't do is put like legal papers that you need, or like a ticket you have to pay, or like your divorce papers that you need the other person to sign. Because I've recently had people contact me with this, and their papers have gotten burnt up. So that doesn't make any sense. So we don't put things that could get destroyed that we actually need or that are valuable. Underneath the actual candle. What you do is you put it between, I'll just use this as an example. You can put this in your vessel or on your plate or whatever, and then you put the paper actually underneath the whole thing, okay, if you have an important document. We don't ever put those underneath the candle. So another thing that people will ask, well, what should I do with the wax when it's done? And that completely depends on what type of spell it was. So if it's a spell for removing something or someone, you're going to want to get that wax off of your property. You're going to want to either throw it in a river, maybe throw it in a garbage can. You could throw it away at a crossroads. But the point is you want it away from you. If it's something you want to keep in your household, such as your job, prosperity, your health, things like that, you're going to want to bury that on your property, because we don't want it to go away. We want it to stay with us. So we're going to want to keep it on our property. So when it comes to matters of love or sexual matters, you would want to take the wax remnants and maybe put it in a red mojo bag and keep it under your mattress. If it's something that you're trying to attract, or something you're trying to anchor into your home, things like that. So those are the three basic ones that I recommend, that are pretty simple rules to follow. If you want it away, get it away. If you want it to stay, make sure it stays. So very simple. Another thing that I get asked quite often is, while I'm doing work for a client, if they should be doing something on their end. And the only way I would say that they should, because let's look at it realistically. If they were having any luck with fixing their issue or the matter at hand, they wouldn't have contacted me for professional services. So typically somebody is too emotionally involved, and they're just mentally so unclear and so entangled in this and so stressed out by it that I don't recommend that they do candle work on their end. Now, if this is maintenance work and they're just hiring me, say their marriage is awesome, their job is awesome, and they're just hiring me for maintenance work to make sure it stays that way, then they could absolutely do work on their end. So they would want to choose corresponding candles and corresponding oils and just do simple basic candle work on their end. And I have a video. It's one of my older ones, but it's still a good one. It's called How to Set Up a Basic Working. And if you want to do basic candle work on your own, it will show you how it will show you how I do it. So those are just a few things I wanted to go over of questions that I commonly get about how candles are burning, why they do certain things, if you should be doing candle work along with a professional, etc. So probably the only other thing I'll touch on is that sometimes people will get a candle where the wick is drowning or it's smoking or sputtering. So if your wick is sputtering and making a lot of noise or smoking, it means that there's moisture in the wick. People will think, "Oh my God, it's demonically possessed," and it's not true. I've made candles for almost 20 years, and I am well aware of what causes an issue with candles, and it is never demonic possession. So don't worry your pretty little heads about that any longer. I'm clearing it up for you today. So if it's getting drowned or it starts sputtering or smoking and there's moisture in the wick. So the common thing people want to do is they want to dig deeper right around this. But what that just does is that just makes a deeper cavern for the outside wax to go into and smother the wick more. So what you have to do is take it from far outside of it, way around here, okay? So if it's drowning itself, you have to remove it from the outside and make it at an angle, okay? So when that wax starts burning, it starts burning away and off, okay? So if it's because your wick is wet and it's smoking and sputtering, you'll have to cut this all the way down to a brand new layer of wick that hasn't been exposed yet, okay? So, because what you want to get down to is the part that's not had moisture get to it. So you want to cut this down and then hold your lighter, see where you can hardly see, but maybe if I put that behind it, see where that little white part is showing now? So you want to get it all the way down to that white part that's new and dry it out with this flame and let it get some new good wax going in there, okay? And then that sputtering will stop. You will have gotten down to where you're past the moisture and you will have dried it out, okay? So that is how you take care of some few basic candle issues, candle interpretation issues, wax disposal, and whether or not you should be monkeying around with candle work at all if you're having a professional service performed. So I hope that helps clear some things up. Y'all have a great day, and I'm going to talk to you real soon, okay? Be blessed.